No, that's the great thing about this. I don't even have like an intro or anything. Like I don't have anything.
Hi,
This
man,
is
relax.
like, just delve in and jump in. The funniest part is that like I didn't tell like none of my friends know anything about this. So this is like purely just like I said, in a way, even if it's officially or unofficially, like I said, it just felt like you were christening. That was just the word I kept thinking about, like you were christening the what's it called, the podcast, because I feel as if, and I had it before, but um, I think like the conversations we have now um, have prepared me for this life, especially going back to when we first started talking, and I was um, asking about what you did at the time, and and I was telling you my ideas about what I wanted to do with media and communications and stuff. And this is before I still thought I was going to do architecture at this point, but going from that to so many conversations when we started talking about Uncle Dan and the photos and just like analysis, and then getting into my papers and stuff. Like it all became what this is, and that was why when I was sitting here like pacing back and forth, and I was having like one of those like what is life? I was like, what is life? And then this the first thing that popped in my head was this format, like what I sent you and how it looks. That was all I could see, and it
Yeah.
was like on some. Oh my god, there's a bird right on standing on my thing. That never happens. Um, and this the format of just like the white space um with the two pictures like just popped in my head. Now I had already done the test run with the homies, but I didn't have it 2x2, and I didn't have it really formatted. It was just like all over the place. But it looked like I could like see, like it felt like if Apple did a had like an Apple podcast, which they might, but like just like I could imagine if like Steve Jobs was talking was talking to someone else. If Steve Jobs had a podcast and was talking to someone important, it looks like something they would use, or like something about the office, and something about it just felt like elevated and fresh and techy, but at the same time, wanting to keep the spirit of like what we did in just those face to face intimate moments, and want to kind of have that and like see how I could bring that to other people. So I'm like I said, I'm still trying to figure it out. Seeing if this works, seeing how it looks, seeing how it feels. Um, so that was really that does happen. That was really what made me be like, okay, I need to do this. And then I was like, I could see myself on it, because actually when I did the one with the guys, I didn't have myself in the video, and it was just them. So I was just like kind of seeing how everybody interacted on the screen, and I was like able to, for the probably the only time, be a viewer of what would be the podcast. And I liked how it felt, so I was like, okay, putting myself in it and seeing that, and I was like the I could see myself having a conversation with like a Pharrell, a Kanye West, a Virgil Abloh, those types of people in this setting, in this space. And this
Mhm.
might be a similar format I use for when I do the shit I find interesting, little Easter egg there. Um, and then, of course, in those lines of like the Pharrells, Kanye's, and Virgil Ablohs of the world, who was next? You, obviously. You were obviously next as one of my personal goats. So that was genuinely how this came about. I was like, okay, I need to do this to like just be able to see it, to get it out, and then I was like, who can get me the closest to that level of goatness? And I was like, Morgan. And this was also the first time, because I was gonna text you the other day and be like, yo, you're my goat. but like real time to tell you, so I can see your reaction in real time. So yeah, no, like but like for real though, I tell people all the time, I'm like, you are like, even that conversation we had about the fucking about the Dave shit, and then going into Saltburn, and it's like, I know you're laughing about it, but like I really sat and reflected about this, went and had conversations with other people, and was like trying to triangulate all of this information I was getting just from the conversations we had. And it was funny because I was thinking, I was like, and like I said, I know I bombarded you with this shit randomly, but I remember we talked and were like, and flirting with the idea of like maybe doing a podcast idea together, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't want to jeopardize, not that we couldn't, I think we could be able to have a professional and still personal relationship, but what we have when we do talk off air, off record is so raw. And I'm with the podcast I'm starting with my other friends, they were like, we had a meeting and sit down, and it was kind of like, just so you know, I'm trying to get a job in the world so like certain shit we can't say. And I'm like, I got y'all, I'm not gonna wild out. They all kind of looked at me. I was like, yo, yeah, y'all seem like responsible people. Like, y'all wouldn't say anything crazy to like jeopardize yourselves. Like, what are y'all they were like, no, not me, you. And I was like, oh, me. So very cognizant that you are a professional person. But like I said, this mostly I just wanted to kind of just, like I said, explain myself and explain my ideas and findings, and have you be, what I consider you the GOAT to be, which is kind of just like being a reflectionary, a mirror of sorts, and even if not a mirror, someone who like, because even if it's not reflecting, it's like providing complete other insight of stuff I didn't look like. And one of the first things I wanted to get into, and kind of like what set this off, for me, that I've found in the past, when I really like don't like to say, it wasn't a mental breakdown. I like text someone, I was like, this was like the calmest mental breakdown I ever had. Like, I was chilling. It was just one of the things, like, you look outside and it's like, what is my life? I don't know how many times people do this, but it was more like existential. And I was like, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? It was one of those moments. And like I said, this had popped in my head, and then I had taken a walk the next day, and I was just kind of sitting and looking at all the things I wanted to do. And the idea of me, now doing communications as a major, and, wanting to finish out in that, and get in the world doing that. And, enriching myself in that in real time, trying to make a purpose out of that versus just being a student. There's a lot of like identity struggle I was having about that. And I realized it was taking place before that, and it's been taking place my whole life. And that was kind of what the whole kind of existential crisis came down to. I was like, I don't think I've ever really, it actually is not that what I was about to say. I know soundly who I am inside. Yeah. Like, when the camera's turned off and I'm just here by myself, all of the things I do in this space, and even, in more internally, that even, if someone was watching me with a hidden camera, they wouldn't see the thoughts I have and the way I think about things. Like, I am fully in tune, accepting and loving of that. All of the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think I've pretty much always been that way, like, as long as I can remember, like, from a child. And I think, like, you like, and everybody that like I like, start talking to again, that I haven't talked to, that knew me back when I was a kid, they like kind of say that. They'll be like, in different ways, but they'll be like, I could tell like you were like different, because I always had that. What I didn't have, and what's the daily practice still to this day, and I thought I had mastered it, but I realized I did not at all, and need to go through some more workings through it. And I hopefully this podcast can kind of be a way to help me through that, is externally what that looks like. And that's the part that's always been the hardest for me. It's like when I look even when I look in the mirror, like I said, even if it's not, the camera's on and not everybody's going to see it, like, even when I look in the mirror and I just look at myself in real time, like even if I just really focused on myself right now, I can't perceive myself like at all. Like I don't have a perception of that when I look in the mirror. I look and I'm like, what the fuck are you? I'm like what are you like? And I don't know if it's because of what I am thinking I should be, but what I do see is like all of the different things I do when I'm interested in putting them together. I've never felt like it made sense. I've never felt like I've been able to translate. Like if someone looks at my Instagram and they see me doing all of whatever I do and just how I present myself in that way. Because even in that, I don't like my Instagram. Yeah, it's gridded out, but other than that, I don't try to follow a format. I'm not trying to portray an image. It's just like pics from my life that I think look cool, and I kind of just throw them up, and try to be aesthetically pleasing, but nothing deeper than that. And I was like so concerned, was and am like so concerned about how it looks. How do I look? Like, and you know, it even goes to the hair. Like I had to dye my fucking hair. Like that was the thing. It was like had the existential crisis, calm mental breakdown, thought about this that we're doing now, and then immediately was like, I need to dye my hair because, and I told my mom this like 2 months ago when I dyed it blonde. I was like, I just had it like natural, and I was like, I look too regular, and that threw me off. So at least I know there's a comfort in like looking abnormal for me and myself, I guess. Which is funny because it doesn't look abnormal to me. Like when I have colored hair, when my hair is a different color and not as natural color, I'm like, oh, that's me. Um, and when other people see that, I don't know what they think, and it depends. Like if you know me as long as you've known me versus somebody who met me yesterday, those are two different things. And I know the answer is just don't worry about it because people have their own things and they're coming from all walks of life, and typically what someone thinks about you is because of their experiences with life themselves. And it's not an accurate reflection of you because if they just meet you, they don't have time to really like actually know who you are. And I get all that, but being that it is that I'm trying to be in the space of communication, that is important, right? How I present the information matters, and me being the person face fronting, presenting the information, I have to like own that in some right. So that was like the big struggle, and then I realized I was like, oh, something else I can hide behind, and fully from this moment forward, I'm going to now. Whenever anybody asks, like, what do you want to do? What do you call yourself? I was always trying to like find it. Like when I text you and I was like, I have all these ideas, right? I'm gonna just say it's ology. Like I wear the hat all the time. Shout out Cyrus, say this shit. Um, it's ology. I am an ologist, and that's what I want to do. And allow the work to speak for itself and define itself. And I hope and think I will find comfort in that, but also like I think more work can get done because I'm less worried about what it looks like, and it's just like let the work speak for itself. Which gets into a whole thing about purpose that we can delve into that. But because that was like it was like identity and purpose at the same time. Yeah, I know that was long-winded as shit.
No, no, I have so many thoughts about it as usual, but I mean,
Yeah,
like,
so that
wait, what?
I was saying, yeah, but that's it. So like that's kind of what I arrived at. I was like, I am, and that was the thing for me first, like getting the guys back together to do the podcast. It's a weird thing because I like tell them, I'm like, I tell them I'm not ology because like they need to understand like I can't do all that I want to do. And later I kind of want to get into a little bit of ideas and stuff I have, just like crazier level things, but like even basic things, producing this podcast. Yeah, I could do it like this, but I can't do the great grandiose things, and even like, you know, minor things. I can't talk about certain things without having a bunch of people and a bunch of perspectives. I can't think about things in a certain way without bouncing them off of my guys. And this brand, this product, you know, this idea of Ology can't grow by just me, and they have to take ownership in it too. So I had to go to them and be like, look, I'm not Ology. Yeah, I came up with the idea, I came up with the concept, I came up with the name, but like what it's turned into is completely because of me and the people I've, you know, trusted with sharing my ideas with. And like you're a part of that. So it's like, even if it's not, you know, the technical people who do Ology on a day-to-day basis, it's like everyone is it. And then that's when it gets kind of weird, because it's like, I'm Ology, but I'm not, right? It's like, so that, and then that gets back into the conversations about like identity in the I have a need to define things. And I think that's the, I love playing with the definitions, but at the end of the day, I do need them to be defined, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and that's something, I think that's just like a daily growth thing. And that's something I even figure out, like, it's a bad thing. It could be a good thing. I don't know. I still don't have the answer to that. But yeah. So that is the very non-conclusive um, findings I came up with in my own personal world. But yeah, so that, you know, I am Ology. We are all Ology. So very open ended. Very open ended.
I think I think like one of the coolest things about you, like one of the coolest things about being your friend is seeing you be so like be so concerned with like having a personal philosophy, like knowing how you feel about things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're extremely introspective and you're also highly collaborative. Like, I mean, you will talk to anybody about anything. Like, you believe that you can learn something from anybody. Like, you don't, those qualities, like, they don't meet in the same person all the time, you know, to be so curious about yourself and so curious about everyone else at the same time. It's pretty awesome. And like, you know, I mean, if I'm interested in this thing of like how you don't perceive yourself, like when you look in the mirror, when you see like video of yourself, like, I mean, I can like, I can understand, I can relate to and understand like it being disorienting and seeing like just kind of like, you know, the universe inside an individual and then just like having that like summarized in just like a picture is very like weird.
Yeah.
But like you're talking about like being able to perceive like none, like the image that you see and like how you feel, they're like incompatible.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
like
like
fully. Like, um,
hmm.
it's different. Like when I look at myself in the mirror in real time, it's different than when I look at a picture of myself. It's
Hmm.
different feelings. It still feels um incompatible. It feels like the mirror is like, it's like I know you, like I'm familiar with you. It's like I know you, but some there's a piece, there's a very vital piece there that's missing to make the full. It's like when you see somebody, like you're like, oh shit, I know this person, but where do I know them from? It's kind of like that. It's like I know you, but where do what are you that makes me know you?
I
That's
think your image is so familiar that like it's hard to see what's distinctive about you, like you know, like other people just like kind of immediately see something about you that like, I mean, not everybody. It's like some people are pretty plain, you know, but it's you're not, you know what I mean? And like you know, like you have an interesting look, you have an interesting face, like naturally, and the things that you do, you know, like you've got an interesting look. I think it's just like, I don't know, like the familiarity of yourself, and even things that you've tried on that are new. It's kind of like you've contemplated them. They're like, they live in your mind. The images of them live in your mind. And like, I don't know, it's it's hard to see what other people see, which is why, like, I mean, you're talking about like me being a mirror in some way. Like if I can hold up, you know, like an image of you by describing what I see, and you can also see it, like if you can see what I see, like I hope I'm doing that. Like I hope I'm doing that, you know, because it's hard to see yourself. And I mean, I don't know, we're talking about kind of like the shallowness of like doing stuff like this, like, or being preoccupied with it. And it's like, I mean, I guess there's like a, you know, it can go too far or whatever, but it's just like the idea of like, I mean, everyone's being perceived. Everyone's like a little bit unsettled by being perceived, especially like not on their terms. Like doing things, changing the way that you look. Like, I mean, you can never control how you're perceived, but it's like, I mean, you can at least kind of like play with things and like, you have like a little bit more agency, I guess. Like, in, I don't know. I think kind of like, I don't think it's like completely silly to like think about your visual persona. Like I don't think I don't think it's completely silly. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I mean, I think like, you know, I saw this recently, like, you know, questions to ask to like improve your artistic practice that, you know, it's like we have kind of these like sort of like we have kind of like a punitive like approach to like what we see as like a lack of discipline or like not get, you know, it's like things have got to change, you know, and it's like, okay, well, like, yeah, like discipline is important, but like there are some questions that you can ask to deepen your practice that will actually motivate you, that will create the discipline, right? Like that will make you want to show up, you know? And like one of them is like, I mean, I wish I could remember the exact language, but it was essentially like, who is this for? You know, it's like, what is the target audience of what I create experience? Like, what do they look like? What do they need?
Yeah.
If there's something that you can do with your visual persona that like is another way of signifying to them that you can offer
Yeah.
something, that you can like provide a home, or that you can share something that, you know, it's all interesting. It's just like another thing that you can play with, you know, is like what you look like. It's like if you're an artist, it's like it's another thing. You can also not care. You can also really not care, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But like, I don't think being interested in it, especially it's like if you're working at least sometimes in like visual media,
Yeah.
like what things look like is your concern.
Yeah.
You are things, you know, like you're one of the things.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, I don't know. It's just like we're always making aesthetic choices. We're making aesthetic choices when we like pour the water out of the kettle and into the cup. Like the specific way that we do it, the way I do it and the way you do it.
Yeah.
They're different. And it's like they're partly down to aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to like separate the aesthetic and the non-aesthetic. It's really hard to like draw a line. It's like, nope, that is fundamentally non-aesthetic. I mean, I don't know what those things are. I don't know what they are. Like, I don't know where they are. What is a non-aesthetic thing? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen or heard or experienced one yet. I don't think so.
There's this Twitter account called Non-Aesthetic Things.
No. What?
No, it's a fucked up account. But it's literally just like fucked up shit happening. Like it's not like it's like someone got hit by a car. It's like that and that'll just be non-aesthetic. It's like why so it's not actually what you're describing as like genuinely non-aesthetic.
I mean, I think like the different, I should clarify like what I mean, I guess, because I'm talking about like the theory of aesthetics, which is like when I say aesthetic, I mean like things that reflect aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
You know? And like the way that we use aesthetic, and I mean it's not a wrong definition, but like another way that we like use aesthetic is like this is aesthetically appealing, you know. But like I've definitely seen things that are not aesthetic in that sense.
You know what's funny? I think the best thing you said about that, and like now as you were talking, I was like, oh, it keeps coming back to this. And this is a big thing for me too, is because I was having this conversation with who was it? Sid about wabi sabi, and my least favorite thing about like wabi sabi, like when that type of shit gets like put in the popular culture, like someone will just leave something a pile of shit and then be like, it's wabi sabi. It's like, no, that's not fucking wabi sabi. There has to be intention behind allowing it to be natural, right? Like bonsai trees, you can't just leave that and then that's going to be that, right? And it's from the same thought process, and you can be, wabi sabi in whatever type of artistic approach, and then you can be wabi sabi in life. And I try to be as wabi sabi as possible. But it makes for a weird thing where it's like what drew me to it and what agitates me the most about like living that type of lifestyle, and it's just my life, is the need to be intentional, but the need to also not give a fuck. It's like, how do you do both at the same time? Because it's like, if for me to intend to do something, I have to care about that. Like in some way, shape, or form, I have to care about the outcome of it. And
then deciding not to care is a decision. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And so,
like, you don't like spontaneously disengage without noticing that about yourself. You know what I mean? You're going like, all right, I've done enough.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, okay, so you didn't train the bonsai, you didn't put it in that planter, you didn't have anything to do with it. But if you like pick it up and sit it down, the way you sit it down is like, it is, even if you're like unaware of, like, and I'm not even talking about like setting it down and then like fussing
the
position of it, but just what you think is an automatic function of knowing how to put something in the right place is actually like a learned understanding of like where how things are right.
This tangentially gets into the thing I not most want to talk about, but kind of most. Somehow it's like, it's funny because I mean it's gonna become a part of everybody's life, and if intentions and aesthetics are a part of everybody's life in some way, shape, or form, this is now going to be a part of this, and then now we have to figure out how to use this to it. AI.
I knew it.
Like I was on the phone with the OG, and he was like, I was like, yo, I need to. It was as that happened. So I, calm mental breakdown. Came up with this, was like, I need Morgan, and then I was like, I need to call my OG because I need help. Like, okay, how do I do this? Because I feel like I have not enough time in the day, and I have these lofty goals, and I got all the stuff I want to do. How do I do it? And it wasn't the only thing he said, but basically at the end of the conversation, he was like, are you fucking using AI to automate your life? And I was like, no. I was like, should I be? And he was like, yeah. And not on some like the not like a Roomba for everything, but like 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 some I mean, but even it kind of is like a Roomba because it's like somewhat
for everything.
Menial tasks we don't want to do, and it's a slippery slope. But even things of like writing emails, scheduling things throughout your day, making uh, a 30-day plan, making a year plan. And like for some people that may be like, just therapeutic, just to, I sat here and thought about it and I, came up with the plan and now I'm following the plan. I'm not that way. So I'm I'm like, yo, like I just need to see the plan. So if this thing can get me the plan faster than I can do the plan, so I can get to actually doing the things in the plan, that to me doesn't sound like a bad idea. And then there's the whole side that we actually care about, which is the arts of it all. And immediately, like as he was saying this to me, I was relating it all to rap, right? As I do, as it always comes back to me in some way form. I was relating it to rap, and I was like, I remember this video of Lupe using. He actually came up with this AI tool to like help write raps, and I went to go like look at it, and I was like, this process. I was like, this process is interesting, and it was the first time, because I was the same. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I was like, "How do you feel about AI?" And she was like, "I hate it. It's the worst thing ever." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, "I hear you. I do, and I get where that comes from." But for the first time, when I like sat and thought about it from a tool and a productivity standpoint, I was like, you know what? I mean, it always could obviously be useful, but I think I found more ways to think about how to positively integrate it into what I'm doing without it becoming a crutch, or without it becoming because we had like, now it is crutches. Like if when we talk and we have something we don't know, or whatever it is, when we're not just riffing and we actually want the answer, we're like, like what is, when did the first movie get released? Like we can look that up and figure that out. And I am starting to look at AI as an advanced version of that. And with the advancements, that does create this in itself is already dangerous. So there are inherently more, in that we know, like, so there are inherently more dangerous things about that supercomputer being even more super that we didn't think it could be. Not to mention the whole environmental impact and all that stuff. That I understand fully, and that's a concern. Just like making the iPhone is. But yeah, but it has a place now. It might not have it now, but at some point it will have a place in the aesthetic process too. And it's like when it becomes a part of that process, then it's like, then I feel like it becomes when it becomes as second nature as I plant this bonsai tree down, then it's like, what happens? And I think that's the part that is the scary part about it. And I would definitely not try to act like I'm not scared about that, of like, not for me, but like greater society. Because as we've seen with social media, people don't know how to use this shit at all.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm hearing like the analog for my generation is social media. And it's like everything that you're saying is like what we were saying about what was emerging 17-ish years ago, as like, I mean, like we had Facebook in school, you know what I mean? We had MySpace.
Yeah.
And it was this kind of, I mean, it was basically just kind of like, it was much closer to, I'm gonna make just like a really geezery reference, but like, like LiveJournal. It was kind of just like, here are some things about me and some pictures of my friends, and like I'm not actually going to think about this for an entire week or month. You know what I mean? It's like, and then as it started to kind of, I remember like MySpace became uncool and Facebook became what everyone was on, and I remember just kind of like the endlessness of it, like the way that little like games became embedded in it, the way that like just like poking something, like what the I don't care, like what is that? Don't do that. Like getting a notification that someone like made some little digital gesture at you, I'm like, who the fuck? Yeah. I hated it like right away. You know what I mean? When it was like, when I was 20 years old and it was for me, I was like, I hate this, but but it was kind of like, became inevitable, like it became inescapable, like having certain amount of literacy in it like became relevant to having a job at all. And then it was kind of like we were a few years deep into it, and like people older than us were saying like, this is categorically stupid, it has no use, it's fucking garbage. And we were like, well, it's kind of being used to organize revolutions, like it's kind of like not like nothing is happening, because like it's not like no one has found an interesting way to do anything with it. And even now, like it remains like a really useful organizing tool. And I'm not oblivious to the paradox of like doing like radical organizing on like meta platforms and just like all that shit, but like but I mean, I feel sometimes I have a little like running Marcus quotes thing from our conversations. There was a really great one last week because you were talking about like how you saw a robot delivering DoorDash and it freaked you out, and you said what they you said it looked like the Mars rover, and you were like, what they put on Mars when you were a child, they have that shit delivering burgers now. And if that, I wrote it down because it was like the most like beautiful, hilarious, insightful encapsulation of like the potential of every technology and like the just heinous, mundane, stupid thing it gets used for. It's just like, that just felt like, I'm like, oh my God, that's like social media, that's AI, that's like everything that has like the potential to advance problems. What?
I didn't think about like I didn't think I just said it and was like, yeah, duh, right?
But that's you said, you were talking about AI basically, like,
that is where I find the problem, where it's like the Mars rover rolling around isn't the issue. It's what is rolling around. It's the fact that it's delivering hamburgers is the problem. To college.
It's like
that's the problem. And that it's there have been whole revolutions and whole social justice changes taking place on social media. So not to negate all of the good that's happened, I do feel a lot more negative, and this goes into the conversation I was having with Richie earlier this morning about, like, I'll just take this example. Pop music. The pop music since I charted 2016 has all been negative. Even if we look at right now, and I think this Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance is literally going to be the greatest artistic performance of all time.
So I can't wait to see what he does.
Because of everything that is the backdrop of this, there's been no situation for this, right? Even with that shit is negative. It's negative. The most popular thing we have right now is a negative situation. And it's been like that for some time. Taylor Swift music, negative. Right? Like, there is no Michael Jackson Heal the World. There is no Bob Marley, right? And not to say Bob Marley wasn't talking about, like, I shot the sheriff, right? Like, but like, at the same time, the overall messaging was like coming together, world peace, unity. As his general being in the pop space. That's just not a thing right now. And I find if Pharrell made Happy right now, people would be like, Pharrell, we love you, but shut that shit up.
Shut up.
Like, he made it at the last possible moment you could make a song. And the song literally says, because I'm happy. There's nothing else, no other interpretation of it. It's very simple to its core. And I think people just aren't feeling that right now. And I think the reason people just aren't feeling positivity right now, which with me, like, maybe just tides turn in life. And that can be, I'm okay with people not wanting to be positive. The world is fucking shit. I mean, the world is wilding out, right? So I'm okay with not everybody wanting to be positive. But I can't help but realize at the same time of this is a massive rise in social media and the constant need to compare and to be there and to care about everybody else, because that's really, seems to be the root of most of this unhappiness is like, you know, these people are doing this over here and I don't like it. These people are doing this over here. This is happening. And it's like, before you didn't see that. So you could just go out in life and say, hey, my neighbors are cool. I like my neighborhood. The grass is green. I mean, life's good. I'm happy, right? Now it's like all that can be the case, but you know, random user 32 said pineapple should be on pizza, and it's like I fucking hate this person. They need to die, and I'm gonna let them know this in this complex comment section right now. It's like times, 8 billion people, and then that's how we get here. So I like that's the dangerous part about the AI to me, where it's like with less advanced, it's crazy calling, Instagram a less advanced tool, but with less advanced tools of Instagram and Google, we've had this massive negativity push in the general society. So, and that's not I don't think that's the fault. I think people have seen that and capitalized off it, but I think inherently the code's not trying to do that. The code is just like, this is just here to be here. You can look this up to look up cat video. You can use this to look up cat videos, and people started doing that, and they were like, no, I want to look up people getting beat up. I want to look up bad shit. And so I think that's just like the inherent human aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of like that's the part that scares me the most, because people clearly can't be trusted with weapons of mass destruction. Because they like, the human element. It's funny, like this and I don't try to make myself better, because when I took my walk and I walked over like this bridge that was over the bayou, and something urged me. I was like, what would it be like to jump off this bridge? Not on some like, I want to, because I clearly don't want to die. I got a lot of shit to do. I just want to know what it would feel like to jump off the bridge and hit the water. And
someone experiences that. Like someone experiences that, and you're like, what happened for them?
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of like what these tools will allow you to start doing in a more figurative sense. And that's some of those things we probably shouldn't put in people's hands. And I think that's kind of like, that's kind of thing. But then there's another side of like, why shouldn't someone be able to experience it? So with the AI thing, I'm trying to be as open as possible. I'm trying to be as open as humanly possible to it. I'm much more open than I was, because I think at the same time, like trying to be someone trying to be my age and join not only the workforce, but like the life force, the society. That's really what it is. Trying to join the life force of what you and your people have been doing for 20-something years, and creating society. Trying to
Sorry.
be. It's not just y'all, but it's like not just bad things. It's good things too. Trying y'all gave us like Rubik's cubes and shit. Trying to be a part of that society. It's like, what is gonna not set me apart, but like, what is the distinguishing feature? What do I have at my disposal to offer fresh perspective besides, the virtue of me being this age? Like, I think when we do have these conversations, probably at least 50% of my, knowledge base from the stuff we talk about is like stuff I found on the internet versus, you had to go live life to come with these findings, right? So that's like why I want to remain open to it, and not fully, write it off, because I have seen the good potential. I've seen a lot of fucked up shit already with it, and it's outweighing the good. I'm not gonna lie on that. It's definitely outweighing the good right now, but I'm starting to at least come around and find something good. So it's scary. It's scary. I'm not scared. Like I'm not like the robots are gonna take over and we're gonna like be on some like pew 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 with the robot type thing. But it's scary to think that I know people are gonna get lazier, and that's the scary thing to think. because people are already lazy enough. Like with and it's so making a more accessible laziness to me is scary. Um, which I think goes along. I think it's scary the laziness because it goes with the apathy, and then you get to the apathy of just like not wanting to make things better, and then you get to a point of like once again all this negativity happened already. Let's just say the negativity exponentially goes up, times 3, 5, 10. Now, I mean, we already have a thing where people are like, I mean, we can't change the shit. That's how people feel about climate change. That's how people feel about general society right now. It's like, we can't change this. People, people see what's going on in government. And they're like, I can't do anything about that. I'm 22. I can't do shit. And I do think like slowly but surely dumbing people down will allow those who haven't been dumbed down to take advantage of the situation. And that's the scary part about it. And I don't know how, and it's obviously just like it wasn't with social media, it's not in the best interest of the people who are in power to be like, who are the same people making these things, and their cousins and friends, to, give literacy on these things. So that's gloomy, but
That's gloomy.
that is a cloud hanging overhead, waiting to open up soon. But as I said to Richie, I am a believer of just like pendulum swinging, and I think even though that may be the case, I do think we do need like there will be time for like another Bob Marley to come, and that at least gives me hope because I'm like it's been a while, it's been a long time since that type of energy has been even in the ethosphere, and I'm like it has to come back at some point. Someone has to come and be like, hey, society, this is not good. Let's come together. I mean, you can only treat people bad so long to where the people are like, yo, we don't want to be treated like this anymore. So I'm going to be interested to see, what that looks like. That's my AI spiel. With that being said, I'm starting Ology AI. No. I'm playing. I do want to start, this has nothing to do with it, but this is just getting on that. I do want to start Ology tennis. That's like my thing.
Ology what? Tennis?
Tennis.
Okay.
Like sport tennis.
Okay.
Why tennis, you ask? I'll tell you why, Morgan. I feel like I have a whole thing with just like I do have with arts. I just love sports and competition, but I think for the development of youth, it is it's a wonderful thing. It teaches you real world shit, how to deal with people without having actual real world consequences.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought about was like I was watching The Wire and they had the boxing part of it, the boxing element where the dude was taking the kids and teaching them how to box. And I was like, I mean, boxing is kind of already in our community in a young way. It's definitely not as much as it should be and as big as it was, but tennis, there's a lot of facets to tennis of like why I chose tennis. One, like basketball and football, we already got that. That's figured out, right? Soccer, I don't know if we'll ever beat the Europeans in soccer, so I just let that one be. But tennis, shout out to the dude Big Foe. He was like Francis Tiafo. I always forget how to pronounce his last name, but he's this black dude who he's usually like top 20 tennis guys in the world. He hasn't quite got over the top yet that I'm always waiting for him to do. And me and Terry is a huge tennis guy, and he kind of got me hooked on it a little bit. And I was watching the Opens, and he was out there, and like with tennis and him just being black in tennis, he's bringing a certain swag. He's coming with the wristbands and the swagged out shit and all that. It's the rap culture side to tennis that it does have a have a thing to be. Serena Williams out there walking on the on the court. Naomi Osaka. All that stuff. And I think my why I chose why tennis is the thing that always pops into my mind is like twofold. I feel like there's such a discipline to the sport that there's a discipline to basketball, but because there's in football, but because there's so many people like on the court with you at the same time, you can kind of hide behind certain things that you can't hide behind with tennis. It is you and that person, right? And and then there's a third party. There's your racket and there's the ball. So I think just from a discipline standpoint, much like you can do with a golf or boxing, to that I mean, every sport is mental, but that game is so mental. Like
there's another part of like the potential for mental fatigue with tennis is that like you can be really good and like it takes a lot of effort to like have fun at it. Actually, like I mean, like I was playing pickleball recently, and yeah, I mean, like the fun thing about that relative to tennis, which like I can't play tennis, like I can't play tennis at all. Like the size of the court, like whatever physics magic shit is happening with the racket, you know what I mean? It's like pickleball is like you really don't have to know much of anything to start having fun. It's like I don't know it, Greg doesn't know it, and it's like we go down to the court and it's like you can get a rally going in no time. You can like feel like you know how to play it and like you're having fun out there. It's like with tennis, it's like really hard to get a rally going.
Yeah.
Even when you're like really good, it'll be like bap, 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 and then 30 seconds of it derailing and being recovered from, and then like the same thing happens. So I
just
what
were you saying?
Pickleball's fun. Tennis is hard.
I see. Yeah, that's true. When I go would shoot at the Hilton in New Orleans, they have like the basketball court and there's like the pickleball courts. And it like the pickleball court is packed. It's like 20 people doing pickleball at the same time. And I was like, man, people like really enjoy this. It's funny how that's becoming like pickleball is becoming a thing. But I think it's because of that, like I don't want to say there are people that go hard in pickleball, but the casual enjoyment of it. But my thing with tennis, I'm speaking specifically like young black kids in the hood, right? Like kids who you wouldn't expect to play tennis. Like
it was extra hard for them
to get it, like making a somewhat of a program because it's like we got the space, right? Every hood got a fucking basketball court, just put tennis there. And I think, like I said, just because of I think the practice of it, of having to do constant repeated motions, and then I think there's some like I think what really draws me to it, one, is just the fact that it's not a sport that we do. I think that alone is like, okay, like I said, we got basketball, and not all of y'all can play basketball, but some of y'all can come and play tennis because they're handing out tennis scholarships now. And it's like the only reason that we're not in it is because of the barrier, the access barrier. Because of financials, you need a racket, you need a court, you need nets, and you need balls. So I feel like if provided for, that can start like a very simple pipeline. First, like I mean, it's kind of starting with golf. People are starting to kind of do it with golf a little bit. I just feel like I said, tennis. You said what? You hate golf?
I just can't. But that's okay. That's another story.
But so many people want me to play. Like my best friend Jake, he plays, and he's like, he's always trying to get me out there. And I'm like, dude, that's. But once again, it's like it's that discipline thing, and I think that's kind of what I feel as if going along with the rap studies. It's like rap studies and tennis. They don't really connect, but in my mind they do, because like I said, just that discipline, that study, like it's you out there, not by yourself, with someone else, there's an opposing force, and there's you, and then there's a third party. And I just feel like that concept is so, I feel like that concept can be like a microcosm for so much of life. You could teach so many life lessons through tennis. And then I do think inherently part of this, like just the way the sport is played, not on some like gentleman's shit, but like you to play tennis, you like gotta respect the sport. Not to say you can't talk shit. I'm all for talking shit. Like I love it when the Kira Ghost, like he be out there talking crazy people. I'm with that. I love that. All that John McEnroe, I love that type of shit. I love that. But there is a certain level of you can't play the game like that. You can do it after the set, but you can't be in the middle of the game. You have to be locked into what you're doing. I think that is a very like, I think those life lessons that could teach. I don't even think for myself. Like if I had those life lessons, like just certain things now, certain things with discipline, certain things with being able to focus on the task in the midst of all this going on, the crowd, whoever's in front of me, the whatever. I just feel like tennis could be a very good space for Black youth and that, as well as making rap academic. But that will be a conversation for another time. I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out. So yeah, fuck it. That's gonna be it.